It began innocently enough. Daniel, my husband, started coming home late from work, excuses spilling from his lips as easily as he once whispered sweet nothings to me. A sudden uptick in business meetings, a phone that never left his hand, and the faint, sickly-sweet scent of a perfume I didn't own. At first, I brushed it off. After all, marriage has its seasons, doesn't it? But deep down, a voice whispered that something was wrong. Then, there was Vanessa, my stepsister. She had always been complicated. Charming to others, venomous behind closed doors. Growing up, she lived in the shadow of my mother's love for me, and as much as I tried to extend kindness, Vanessa always seemed to want more. She envied my success, my happiness, and worst of all, my marriage. But I never imagined she'd go so far. I noticed how Daniel lit up when Vanessa came over. How his laughter felt warmer, more genuine in her presence. At first, I dismissed it as paranoia. Don't be silly, I told myself. She's family. But family doesn't linger too long on the arm of your husband at a party or text him late at night with inside jokes you don't understand. Suspicion gnawed at me, relentless as a storm battering a frail old house. I needed answers. So, one evening, when Daniel's late meeting stretched into hours, I followed him. I wasn't prepared for what I found. There they were, in the dim glow of a corner cafe, their heads close, their laughter intimate. Her hand rested on his like it belonged there. It felt like watching strangers, like the man I'd shared my life with had been replaced by someone else. That night, I confronted Daniel. His excuses were pathetic, his lies unraveling with every question I asked. But it wasn't until I called Vanessa that the truth exploded into the open. She didn't deny it. In fact, she gloated. "You've had everything your whole life, Sophia," she sneered. "Did you really think I wouldn't take something for myself?" My anger turned into something darker. Betrayal. My own husband, my own stepsister. I demanded a divorce, a way out of this nightmare. But instead of guilt, Daniel's face hardened. That's when I saw Vanessa's true influence. "You're not leaving," he said, his voice cold, alien. "You try to ruin this for us, and you'll regret it." I froze. "What do you mean?" I whispered, fear crawling into my chest. Vanessa stepped forward, her smile chilling. "If you even think about telling anyone, we'll make sure you don't get the chance." Understand? I understood, all right. This wasn't just about infidelity. They wanted to destroy me, to take everything I'd built, including my inheritance, the legacy my mother left behind. I realized then that I wasn't just dealing with betrayal, I was facing monsters. And I was their prey. But I wasn't going to go down without a fight. I told Daniel I needed time to process everything, to rebuild our marriage. He bought it, though Vanessa was harder to fool. Her eyes followed me like a predator sizing up prey, daring me to step out of line. I knew one wrong move could cost me my life. In secret, I started gathering evidence. Every heated argument with Daniel, every veiled threat, every instance of Vanessa lurking where she shouldn't be, I recorded it all. I even copied financial documents, proving their attempts to access my inheritance. Each piece of evidence became a lifeline, a weapon I'd use to protect myself. Then the anonymous warnings began. Notes slipped under my door. Texts from an unknown number. They all said the same thing: be careful. Vanessa has done this before. Done what before? I didn't know. But I couldn't ignore the dread those words carried. I felt watched, vulnerable, as if I were part of a game I didn't understand. And yet, the warnings gave me hope, someone out there was on my side. I turned to the only person I trusted, Rachel, my best friend since childhood. I told her everything, from the affair to the threats. Her reaction was a mix of shock and fury. "You're not facing this alone," she said, her voice firm. Rachel was my lifeline. Together, we installed hidden cameras in my house, microphones in Daniel's study, and trackers on his car. It felt like something out of a spy movie, but it was my reality. The footage we collected was damning, Vanessa whispering poison into Daniel's ear, Daniel agreeing to deal with me if I became a problem. Their voices, their faces, their lies, all captured on tape. But with every step forward, the danger grew. Vanessa, always perceptive, seemed to sense that I wasn't as compliant as I appeared. Her smirk sharpened when she looked at me, as if she knew I was hiding something. Then it happened. One night, Rachel's car skidded off a quiet road and into a ditch. The brakes had failed. She survived, barely, but the accident was no coincidence. The mechanic confirmed it, someone had tampered with her car. Rachel called me from the hospital, her voice shaky but determined. "They know I'm helping you," she said. "You need to get out, Sophia. Now." Her warning hit me like a blow. Vanessa's message was clear, she wasn't afraid to eliminate anyone who stood in her way. My best friend had almost died because of me. I felt guilt, terror, and rage simmering beneath my mask, but I couldn't afford to falter. Vanessa and Daniel tightened their grip after Rachel's accident. Daniel insisted on accompanying me everywhere, under the guise of being a supportive husband. Vanessa made unannounced visits, her presence suffocating. They were watching, waiting for me to slip up. But I wouldn't. I couldn't. The mask stayed on, and the escape plan grew bolder. I didn't just want to survive, I wanted to destroy them. To expose their lies, their cruelty, their monstrous greed. And so, I kept smiling, kept pretending, kept playing along. Because when the time came, I would be ready. And they would never see it coming. I started planting breadcrumbs, bits of false information designed to make Daniel and Vanessa think I was defeated. I left my laptop open with half-written emails about reconciliation, dropped hints in conversations about how I was ready to move on. Vanessa took the bait, her smugness growing with every passing day. "See," she said to Daniel one evening when she thought I wasn't listening. "She's given up. We've won." But behind the mask of compliance, I was setting my own trap. I reached out to a journalist named Claire, someone Rachel had trusted during a previous whistleblowing case. Claire listened in stunned silence as I laid out my story, the betrayal, the threats, the evidence Rachel and I had collected. She agreed to help, promising to release the story if anything happened to me. I'd given her everything, the recordings, the videos, the names. If Vanessa and Daniel thought they could silence me, they were wrong. Then came the weekend getaway. Daniel pitched it as a chance to reconnect, but I knew better. The location, a remote cabin in the woods, reeked of danger. Vanessa would be joining us, of course, because why not rub salt in the wound? I agreed, playing my part perfectly, but I wasn't going alone. Before leaving, I contacted law enforcement. With Claire's help, I had pieced together enough of Vanessa's past to raise alarms. Fraud, blackmail, even an unsolved disappearance from years ago, it all pointed to a woman capable of anything. The police were hesitant at first, but the evidence I provided and the looming threat of a journalist exposing their inaction spurred them into motion. At the cabin, the tension was suffocating. Every glance from Vanessa felt like a silent threat, every forced smile from Daniel a reminder of his betrayal. They had planned something, I could feel it in the air. But they didn't know I had planned something, too. That night, Vanessa suggested a hike, just the three of us. "It'll be good for us to clear the air," she said, her eyes glinting with malice. I agreed, knowing full well that the secluded trail was their chosen stage for my demise. What they didn't expect was the ambush. As we reached the clearing, the forest erupted with shouts. Officers surrounded us, guns drawn, their flashlights cutting through the darkness like beacons of salvation. Vanessa's confident smirk vanished, replaced by raw, unfiltered panic. But the most shocking moment came when Daniel turned on her. "This was your idea," he shouted, backing away from her. "You said we wouldn't have to hurt her." Vanessa's mask finally slipped, revealing the calculating monster beneath. She laughed, cold, unhinged. "Don't act innocent now, Daniel. You're as deep in this as I am." The police weren't interested in their bickering. They moved in, cuffing Vanessa and dragging Daniel away. But before they could take her, Vanessa turned to me, her voice dripping with venom. "You think you've won, Sophia," she hissed. "This isn't over." Her words chilled me, but I didn't let it show. I stood there, watching as the two people who had tried to destroy me were led away in chains. The nightmare was finally over, or so I thought. Daniel and Vanessa were arrested that night, their schemes laid bare for the world to see. The evidence I had worked so tirelessly to collect sealed their fate. Vanessa's crimes stretched far beyond what I had imagined: fraud, extortion, and even a missing person case that had haunted investigators for years. She'd built her life on lies and manipulation, and now it was all crumbling around her. Vanessa's trial was a spectacle. Watching her sit in that courtroom, her cool confidence shattered, was surreal. She still tried to control the narrative, blaming me, blaming Daniel, even blaming her childhood. But the jury saw through her, and when the verdict came, guilty on all counts, it felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders. Daniel's trial was quieter. His lawyer painted him as a man manipulated by Vanessa, a victim of her cunning. And maybe, in some ways, he was. But Daniel had made his choices, too. He had betrayed me, threatened me, and stood by while Vanessa planned to take my life. He pled for my forgiveness before his sentencing, his voice breaking as he begged for a chance to make amends. I stared at him, the man I once loved, and felt nothing. "No," I said, my voice steady. "I don't forgive you." And that was it. Daniel was sentenced to years in prison, Vanessa much longer. They were gone from my life, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. But freedom doesn't come without its own challenges. I was left with scars, emotional ones that wouldn't fade easily. The betrayal, the fear, the isolation, they haunted me in quiet moments. But I refused to let them define me. I moved to a new city, far from the shadows of my old life. My new home was small but warm, filled with light and hope. I began volunteering at shelters and crisis centers, meeting others who had survived toxic relationships and abusive situations. Their stories inspired me, and soon I started a support network to help others escape and rebuild their lives. Through helping others, I found healing. Each life I touched reminded me of my own strength, of the power I had reclaimed. One evening, as I unpacked the last box in my new home, I came across an old photo of myself, young, smiling, blissfully unaware of the storm that would come. I placed the photo on a shelf, not as a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I'd gained. I stood by the window, watching the sun dip below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. For the first time in years, I felt peace. My story wasn't just about betrayal or survival. It was about rising above, about finding light even in the darkest moments. And now, as I stood there in my new home, my future felt brighter than ever. It's been 2 years since that fateful night at the cabin. Time has a way of softening the edges of pain, though the lessons it leaves behind remain sharp and clear. I've learned that betrayal, no matter how deep, doesn't have to define you. And fear, while powerful, can be overcome with courage and determination. The support network I started has grown into a thriving community. Every day, I hear stories from people who, like me, found themselves trapped in darkness but refused to let it consume them. Their resilience reminds me that strength comes in many forms, sometimes in a single whisper to help me, other times in a bold step toward freedom. As for me, I've found a new chapter in my life. I've learned to trust again, to embrace the small joys, and to cherish every hard-won moment of peace. My scars will always be there, but now, they feel less like reminders of pain and more like badges of survival. To anyone listening who feels trapped, hopeless, or lost, I want you to know that you're not alone. Your story doesn't have to end in fear or despair. There's a way out, and when you find it, you'll discover a strength within yourself you never knew existed. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to fight for your own freedom, your own happiness, and your own peace. If you found this story as gripping and empowering as I did, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here, we share real-life stories and thrilling narratives that inspire, uplift, and keep you on the edge of your seat. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. And remember, your voice matters. If you have a story you'd like to share, reach out to us. Together, we can shine a light on the darkest moments and celebrate the strength it takes to rise above them. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next story.